So I wanted to talk to you today. One, because I met Gwen, and she said that she was representing you, and you had a lot of great stuff going on. And two, because so the title of my show is Longshots, and what we explore on the show is people overcoming adversity, fulfilling their purpose, chasing down a dream. It's a feel good story. But what I wanted to explore a little bit is about retired athletes, you know, and what they and what life is like after being retired. Because I know in your previous interview you had mentioned about, like, after boxers, retire, sometimes none of them, some of them have nothing, and it's just like back to where they came from, you know. And there's just like so much good stuff that when I'm doing research on you, that I wanted to talk about. What I really wanted to open up with was, you had mentioned that some people said, that is it a curse that you live in your father's shadow? And you said it's not a shadow, it's a light. And
Yeah.
I thought that was beautiful, because there's a lot of pressure sometimes, on a guy to come through that. So, explain to me a little bit about, even if you want to go back to when you were in Spanish Harlem, you said kids used to try and challenge you.
Yeah. Well, when I guess it's a blessing to live under the light, but at the same time, it all depends on the person. It's how you take it. It's a lot of pressure. Shit, my mind, if I want to be like Macho, I want to be like my father, be like Macho Camacho, or achieve what he achieved, or say I want to be like my father. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of work. So I just said this will be more like a light to me, more than a shadow. I like it. I'm sure it'll open a lot of doors, which it has in my career. But the tough part is we have to live up to it. People expect so much from me. Be on fit on the big shoes. They expect so much. I would never be another Macho Camacho. There's only one Macho Camacho. There's only one Chavez. There's only one Ali. There's only one Chicken Leonard. Those kind of fighters come every 100 years. I don't care how good you are. Those type of fighters don't come around every day. So I knew I was going into my boxing career early, but my goal was to be known for myself, for Hector Camacho Jr., not just the son of. Let me ask you a question. You've been in boxing for a long time, Darren. You ever heard of Felix Camacho?
What's that?
You ever heard of Felix Camacho?
Felix, was that your uncle?
That was my uncle. He became a world champion. But a lot of people don't talk about that, or they forget about him, or they don't even remember him.
That was the night that you all three of you were on the same card, right?
So your boxing. There you go. So that I didn't want to fall in that spot to be known just as the son of, or even be forgotten. So I made it my goal to work hard, not only in the ring, outside the ring. Because inside the ring, I could never live up to my father had. That's a big shadow. But outside the ring, I damn well could.
That's beautiful. So that's a great way for us to segue into what's going on right now. What do you guys? What do you? I know we talked about something down in. You're opening up a gym down in Panama.
Yeah.
Well,
that's that falls in the category of trying to do things my father didn't do, trying to up one on top of him. Inside the ring, he was phenomenal. But outside the ring, I asked myself, what did the Macho Man leave behind? He left behind a great legacy, of course. But what did he leave behind for the future fighters in Puerto Rico, New York City, my own neighborhood? Not much. So it's my job as a junior, as an inheritor, to hold that name, to hold that light, and keep pushing positive forward. So I went upon myself. I moved to Panama 4 years ago, and I've seen Panama, like the United States. They don't have no government help, no food card, no EBTs, no government assistance. They have nothing in Panama. I've been there for 4 years, and I looked at it like, wow. Any one of these fighters, any one of these kids that are in the street could be the next Bill Duran, could be the next Macho Camacho. Only they don't have is opportunity. So I took it upon myself, along with the government of Panama, to open a boxing gym up. So I have the location right now. I just haven't been in Panama. I don't have the time to put it together, but that's what I'm working on for the future. Is to give light back to the kids, give them opportunity, give them a hope when there's none.
Right.
We come from the mean streets of Spanish Harlem, where you don't have really an opportunity. So, we made it from this. I want to shed that light that anything is possible. My father was born in Puerto Rico, didn't speak no English. Went to New York City at the age of 4. Made it all the way to the White House. That's the American dream.
Mm. Damn right. You're
Damn right.
you're a young kid growing up in Spanish Harlem. Your father's flying all over the world, fighting. He's a champ, and so like you're growing up. You would mention that you didn't have like he would disappear out of your life for like a couple months at a time, and people would like just assume that you're Macho's kid that you want to fight. Did you necessarily want to fight?
My father wasn't around. I drew a lot of resentment. As I was growing up small, my family was over telling me, "Your father's a nut. Be careful with your father. Your father's a nut." And when you're a young kid growing up and always hearing that about your father, you grow resentment. He wasn't around much. I didn't understand it. I really didn't understand it. I was pissed off at it. My father was never around. I'll get picked on. That's your father. So why the hell you live in the project? That's your father. You want to fight? Let's fight. I was having resentment until I became a pro and I realized, hey, I'm in the same shoes. He's traveling, doing this, and doing that. He put all that work in, not only for himself, but for me. But he left behind a legacy for other 3 brothers. So it was tough, it was tough. But then again, me being a pro, I totally understand it.
You're becoming a young man. Do you notice that like you're going towards a certain lifestyle of the street in Spanish Harlem, or are you like, what, maybe I should turn my shit around and start fighting?
I want to give thanks to my mother and my family in New York, my grandmother, my 2 aunts, because they kept me out the streets. They kept me in the boys' club in New York. They figured, you know what? The streets, you'll get polluted in the streets. You'll get with the wrong crowd. You'll get in trouble. So they kept me in the boys' club. I stayed out of trouble. But it didn't happen until I moved to Orlando, Florida in 1996. No, 1992. My mother told me, well, son, we here. There's no boys club, nothing to do. You're not going to stay home after school, do nothing, and get in trouble. So it's a boxing gym. So it was my mother who pushed me into boxing. I didn't want to come to boxing. I wanted to be a jiggler. I'm Macho Jr. I want the girls. I want to chase everybody.
Yeah.
My mother kept me in that straight line. Something my family in New York. They raised me well. They kept me home. And that's when boxing came in. I didn't have nothing else to do. I'll get out of school early from Orlando, Florida, to go home and do nothing. My mother said, nah, son. I'm going to be staying home doing nothing. I'm going to take you to the gym. So boxing was in my blood. It became easy. It was easy for me.
Right. So when did you like notice that like after a couple fights, you're like, all right, like I'm good. Like, I'm good at this.
Who really convinced me? It was my uncle, Felix Camacho. I was in Puerto Rico visiting my father that time, and my uncle was also a world champion. Put the gloves on one day. Camacho, Machito, put the gloves on. I put the gloves on, and we spar. You know what, Machito? Why you come and fight? You pretty good. I said, you think so, Deal? But I looked up to my uncle, so he said, you pretty good. What you go into boxing? And that's what really pushed me to give me the convincement to go ahead and go forward with it. That was against boxing. I seen all that my father's life growing up. I seen all the leeches. I seen, when all the fun stopped, everybody leave his side. I didn't want that life.
Yeah.
It wasn't a life for me. It was a fake life. It's a life full of smoke. Yep. It's not true. It goes by so fast. And when it's said and done, you're there by yourself.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from that, looking into that. But I took boxing. I was good. And, it brought so much things to my life. I traveled. I had education from traveling. I've seen things I've never seen. Thanks to boxing. It saved my life. I would have been in the streets. Keep in mind, I'm a Camacho. I would have been in the streets hanging out.
Right. You had a big fight on Coney Island, right? Was that 4th of July weekend, right? You Leha?
Yeah, Leha. Just Leha, yes.
Yeah. And people were talking shit about you, saying that you were giving up, right?
Yeah.
In the paper, right? In the Post, they, I was just doing some, and you had just mentioned just before when we were talking about like how there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and there's no love, and it's like, and I think that's true of all sports, but at that point, is that like when you're like starting to maybe something was starting to switch and be like, like maybe this, isn't really for me for the rest of my life.
Like I said, my goal was to become world champion. To be known for myself, be known for me, Hector Camacho Jr., not just the son of Camacho. And I
Mhm.
believe I achieved that back in 2000, in 2001, when my father fought on my undercard on the KO Nation. When my uncle fought, my father fought, and I fought. I was the main event. So for me, that's my world championship fight. Yeah, I achieved my dream.
Yeah.
And the Leha fight was just a plus, man. That was my biggest payday. There were 800,000 on the table. The bad call happened, the headbutt. It went to the scorecards. It's not my fault that I was up winning. It's not my fault that I was up in the scorecards. So they gave me the win, and all hell broke loose. The next day in the post, the papers, Camacho's a coward. When I seen that happen, I said, I gave me a bad taste in my mouth. You know what? Forget boxing. I got my money, forget boxing.
Yeah.
So after that, I just left it alone. And I came back every here and there, fighting out of shape. Wasn't doing it for the money, because I set myself up well.
Good.
I made smart moves, but it just something in me that I want to do. I want to achieve. Like after you're a fighter, and you look back in your career, like, God damn, I could have did this, I could have did that. Yeah, I could become world champion. I became 2-time world champion. Why didn't do this? Why didn't do that? I didn't want to live that resentment. So here I am at my age, making an effort to go back in the ring.
Let's talk
Not for the
about
money.
that. Let's
Not for
talk
the
about
money.
that.
It's something I have inside I want to prove. I don't have to do it, but it's something I cannot live with. I want to also leave a legacy behind for my kids, like my father left for me. So that's what this is about right now, legacy shit. I'm actually training my cousin right now, my father's brother's son, Felix Camacho, amateur fighter.
Okay.
Which you're gonna be hearing about him soon. Felix Camacho, they call him Showtime. He's getting ready now for the U.S. Championship. So for me, from here on, all about legacy things. They're doing it big. I mean, I'm not going back in the ring to fight anybody. It gotta make sense. Gotta
Right.
make business sense.
Yeah.
My name is the staff, so it gotta make sense at this point. And especially thanks to every draft, Showtime, the documentary Macho. That have helped. I've been out of phone calls lately for comeback fights, for doing different things. So why not? It's still Macho time.
Absolutely. Always.
Man, I don't know if you know about this. Yesterday, Chavez Sr. signed another intent. Say yes, he'll go back, he'll come back to the ring and he'll fight me. I mean, that's awesome. Like that's a real story. He beat my father, and that was a fight that I always wanted from young. I wanted to fight Chavez. It never happened. So I tried to fight Omar Chavez. Didn't happen. I tried to fight Julio Chavez. So I got tired of chasing them. I called Chavez my sister. Listen, there's any Jackie Chavez, Carmen Chavez, give me any Chavez. I want my revenge. And then here we are now. We about to lock in and fight Chavez Sr. I mean, it's beautiful.
That's nice. So that'll be the exhibition fight.
That'd be the exhibition fight. That's for me is big. That's a big opportunity to do something my father did. Step in the same ring with another legend like my father did. So for me, that's big. It's a fight I always wanted.
Yeah.
So,
and that's something everybody will watch for sure. Everybody will watch that for sure. Now you have to do that in like Missouri or something, right? Where you'd be able to get a couple people.
When something open, we still in talks right now. We don't have a definite date. Texas came to the pictures. Texas came out. Florida also came on the talks. All depends how things are from here to then, But we looking at pay-per-view, streaming. That's the best way to go about it. No matter if it's crowd, not crowd. Look, it's Chavez. I don't care if there's people there, one person, two person. I don't care if we're in a phone booth. I want my revenge.
There
I
you
don't care how
go.
many people there. It's something I've been wanting. Something I've been wanting for the longest time, and it's finally here.
That's great, man. That's beautiful. And then we're all gonna
consistency. I was consistent on his ass. I wanted that fight. I didn't give up on my dream. I kept on going.
That's it, man. Speak it into existence. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm with you. So I read an article where you talked about the importance of mental health and how I felt that, like, coming out of your mouth was like probably tough for you to say, right? I mean, like, there's a lot, everybody looks at you and you're like people look at you as a tough guy, you know what I mean? And a lot of coming out of your mouth, people are like, oh my, might call him a coward, you know what I mean? Or whatever they call him, you know what I mean? Because it's just not associated. Being tough and then talking about feelings is not associated with boxers. You know what I mean? So for you to come out
I
and
got
say that, I think that was big. I think it's important that people realize, you know, they talked about it in your father's docuseries. You know, he suffered from some sort of you know, melancholy, whatever you want to call it. And it's important that it's addressed. It's important it's addressed across all people, you know.
you.
And so by you recognizing that, is there something that you want to do? Is there a message that you have to people that may be struggling?
Keep going forward. What worked for me is holding that rope to God's hands, staying there, living the righteous life. I don't care how bad you think we all go through. We all got our demons inside. We all fight our demons, all of us. And more during these times, with COVID times, and we locked in the house, we all stressing the bills. Keep yourself positive, man. That's something I emphasis on always. And I pass down to my kids, to my wife. It's so important, man, to stay strong. Especially for us fighters, man. We go through so many things during training camp, during the fight, the weight loss, this and that, the reports, the papers, and how important is to stay strong up here is everything. Because without this, we lost,
Yeah,
I,
no,
I
absolutely.
believe in positive thinking results in positive actions. So it's very important to keep yourself in tune, man. Keep yourself in that light. Keep yourself in that front foot.
So is that part of the message that you'll kind of drive down down your gym in Panama? Not only to be strong,
Yeah.
to strong
Oh,
physically, but strong emotionally, spiritually, mentally.
yeah. When it comes to Panama, what I'm looking at is basically is the youth. And I grew up in New York City. And like I said, what helped me get out the streets was the Boys Club in New York City. It kept me out the streets. It gave me some place to eat. So that's what I'm looking to bring back to Panama. In Panama, I look at the kids that got out of school. There's no after school program. So they're in the streets hanging out, got nothing to do. So I'm looking for a home for the kids.
Yeah.
Boxing,
Right.
music, education. Keep them there. Keep them off the streets. And also encourage them. The positive side. Believe in yourself. That's what we all deal with. I don't care how many friends you have.
Yep.
If you got a
Absolutely.
dream, they'll knock your dream down. Oh, you can't do it. Stay strong. Stay strong. Even your family. We all
Yep.
got family that knock us down. Our own family knock us down. But if you're not strong up here, you're done. And that's something I always went through. And I learned it through my father. No matter what my father went through in his life, he always was positive. No matter what demons he was facing, he always was positive. Look, I seen this guy catch an ass whooping with Chavez and go out that same night and party. Hey, that just Chavez gonna pay for that. Chavez gonna pay for that. Believe that.
Love it, man. So what drove you? Now I noticed or I read that you in 2013 had converted to the Muslim religion. What drove you? What was it?
2009.
Oh, okay. So what drove you to convert to Islam? And then from there, like, you know, was there a certain, was there somebody, an influence in your life, or you know?
You know, I was raised in a Catholic household. We had the statues. We Latin, so we always believe in, the statues here and this and the rosaries. And I
Right.
grew up in a household, being a Catholic. I didn't have no other choice. I was raised in that. And then after my high school days, I went to, I became a Christian, started going to church, but something still was missing. I didn't feel complete. And it not happened until I went to Panama to visit my girlfriend that's down my wife. And things are going crazy, man. I left the house and said, God, please help me, guide me before I lose it out here. I'm in a country that's not mine. Guide me, take me to the straight path, please. I begged them. The next day in the morning, I went jogging like I always do. I went jogging, I passed by this building. I heard them singing. I asked the guy outside, ew, what they singing to? No, they're not singing. He told me, shh, stay quiet. They praying. They what? They praying. So I went sweaty. I walked up to the door. I said, can I see? He told me, shh. Open the door. And I seen the guys partially praying. And I asked him, what is this? It's just a masjid, the mosque, Islam. I didn't know anything about Islam. So I went home, I called my friend of mine, and I said, listen, man, I went to a church. Now a church is a mosque, it's not a church. And I have a friend who's Muslim. You want to know about it? I'll pick you up later, I'll take you over to him. And just so happened, my friend of mine picked me up, took me over to another guy's house, and who was a Muslim, and he gave me a book. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave me a book. I read upon it, and I read upon Islam, and it was something nobody had to convince me. I felt it in my heart that I was in the straight path. And Islam basically is on 5 pillars, man. Give back to charity, man. Say your prayers. That was easy for me to do. Be a good person was easy for me to do. Be a good person for me was easy. I'm a natural good person. I'm a thankful person. Like I said, I'm more than thankful. My father's Macho Camacho. Like I was born in the light. So I'm more than thankful. I love giving back. So for me, it was easy to convert to Islam and give back. And it was nothing nobody had to convince me. I just felt it. I was in the right path. So, I kept on going forward. Look at my life today, man. I changed as a person, man. I come from the streets of New York. I was aggressive, man. I was aggressive. I was a fighter, man. I have resentment. My father wasn't around. I wanted to be me. I didn't care. I was drinking. I was smoking at a young age. That's why I grew up around. And that just changed my life around, man. I'm forever thankful to Islam.
I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, and I got put into a spot where it just happened for me, like you described, right? You got a feeling. It's almost like this mysticism that comes over you. And rather than me trying to cut it up and figure it out and try and say, what is this feeling where I can put my finger on it, rather than doing that, I call that feeling God, and that's what I choose to believe in. And it has been the difference maker in my life in the last 5 years. And you talked about, that love and that giving back, and that's something that resonates with you and that you identify with. Earlier, we talked about how boxing's a mess, or you've talked about it in other interviews, how boxing's a mess. Do you take this person you are today into some of these young fighters' lives that you're trying to represent, and let them know that, like, listen, these people aren't around forever. This is what you need. I mean, are you going to be you're going to try and be with a number of different guys that are kind of retired now and drive this healthy, stable, prosperous force into boxing?
That's a good idea. You just gave me a great idea. You just gave me a great idea to get fighters around with me and really give back. Let me fast forward. I feel that boxing now at this stage, before we lose our grip on boxing as a sport, the boxing no longer is a sport, it's a business now. Us fighters,
oldest sport in the world.
Ex-fighters, we should have our heads on boxing. We see these scorecards. We see the judges scoring these fights. We ask ourselves, what the hell are they doing? Why shouldn't we have ex-fighters giving back to the sport, helping ex-fighters out? I would love to see ex-fighters more involved in boxing, hands-on. But yeah, that's something I like to pass down to the youth. Well, I wouldn't want to pass down, of course, God is everything. But Islam has made me in a way kind of soft. Has made my heart take over and be a good person, more than being that killer go inside and knock his ass out.
Do you see that as soft, though? You see that as soft?
You know what? My mind change had, as far as being a fighter, when I turned to Islam, my mind frame going to a fight, it wasn't knock this motherfucker out like I used to be before. It's more like, let's get this win, let's get this win. But I didn't have that go there knock and kill you. I didn't have that feeling when I joined Islam. It was more like a softer tone, be nice, give back. In boxing, you gotta be mean. You gotta be mean.
Yeah. No, I get that, but I think, like, I don't think that God doesn't want you to fight in that sport, though. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's a separate, that your faith that you have is separate from the man in the ring. You know what I mean? Like the athlete, you can still compete. You know what I mean? I think a man who is well versed in himself, right, and understands what like his emotions, like what triggers him, and like where he's most useful, and think, and and just kind of like, I sometimes talk to guys about like it's about being like like a carpenter goes back to his truck, right, and he needs something to get a job done, but he knows in his truck, whether however messy it may be, he may know what where each tool is to fix every problem in his life. And
Agree with that.
that's the difference between like a man who's, in my eyes, completely strong and knows who he is, than to a person who just is kind of pushing their way through life, which I used to do.
That's the word. Pushing their way through life. And I tell you, before that, when I wanted to prove myself, I was a mean little cocky mother, mother F. I
Yeah.
want to knock you out. I want to knock you out. But as life goes on, Islam had changed me in certain ways. That, a more different approach. But if I was to get back to the kids in boxing, would be financial classes. Take financial courses. Explain to them the boxing world, what to expect. This is dirty business. Like I said, 95% of fighters that retire broke. We have no 401k plan. We have no retirement plan. We have no health plan. We have none of that. Boxing need to change. We do need to change.
Yeah. And I think the understanding the marketing of it, because some of these guys are just like getting big dollars. You know what I mean? Like, you look at Tyson's fight. You know what I mean? Like, Floyd's fight. You know what I mean? Pacquiao's fight. All those guys make big dollars. And there's plenty to go around. People still love boxing. People still love the sport. It's the oldest sport in the world. That, wrestling, and soccer, the three oldest sports in the world. It's never going away. They
But
just
what
have
I
to.
heard is the scorecard, the judges. It hurt. That's what MMA is leaping up on us, because they go out there and fight. They go out there, kick each other's brains out, blood, kick, spit. Boxing, bad judges, bad calls, a lot of mismatches. It's hurt boxing. It's hurt boxing big time. But they still have the talented fighters. Still have the talented fighters out there in boxing. It's all about marketing.
Yeah, that corruption is what's difficult to get rid of. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people don't know until you're in the boxing world, you see it for yourself. But yeah, it's a dirty business, man. Real dirty business. The hard part, getting back in shape, that's hell. It's hell, man.
Yeah. So
Young
what are you?
boys in the
What are
gym.
you? You're 42? 42 years old?
I don't know. I stopped counting my age like 2 years ago.
Nice. Nice.
Remember, we was older. We used to ask people, "How old are you?" No, I stopped counting my age years ago. I never understood that. Now I know why. But yeah, I'm 41.
All right, cool. So that's not. I mean, Tyson just fought. He's 53.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and it all depends on your lifestyle. I'm not a drinker. I'm not a partier. So I feel like I'm still fresh.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have 60-something fights. I'm still feel fresh. I still feel young. But when you wake up in the morning, it's hard to convince myself I'm still young. When you wake up in the morning, your body hurt. It's just part of it.
I'll tell you though, I mean, once I got clean, and I'm 38 now. I sometimes I feel better than I did when I was 25. You know what I mean?
And that helps mentally. If you pass that stage of going in there, getting cleaned up, if you pass anything, you will pass anything.
Yeah, that's true. Once you get, and really it'll go back to me going back to like what we said before, my faith, people I surround myself with, because that's a message in itself, right? The people you surround yourself with.
Big time, man. I learned at a certain age is about who you surround yourself with. I also learned that you're the smartest person in your circle. It's time for you to get out that circle and join another circle. You gotta keep learning in life. It never stops, man. It depends who you wipe yourself around. Now, when I was young, I just walk around my own guys from the hood, my hood guys. They just get in trouble. I have to back them up, bail them out. I mean, if problems happen, it was Camacho and his team. I just get bad rep for other people, my boys. So all depends on the people you keep reminding yourself with. Now I'm looking for social. I'm looking for business partners as well. I want to better myself. So then that's where I'm at. Is who you have around yourself.
Absolutely. And you have a lot of opportunity with, this upcoming fight, the gym that you want to launch, and
Got a TV series coming out. It's called Growing Up Camacho. I
okay,
also have
yeah,
another children's book I'm working on now. A children's book called Macho Dad. I'm constantly working outside the ring, staying keep myself busy because if I just depend on wholly boxing, I'll go crazy.
yeah,
Boxing always being canceled. So I stay busy, outside the ring, do what I have to do to keep my name relevant, keep my family relevant.
yeah.
Like I said, I hold that legacy, so it's up to me to keep it moving forward. So I'm into everything, man. Giving back to the kids, the boxing gym. I got my own things coming out now, my own TV show, my own book coming out. I feel good in the place where I'm at right now. I'm in a great place right now in life. 2021 couldn't start any better. Chavez got the
Great.
phone call from Chavez. The fight gonna happen. I get my revenge. It's a good way to start, man. Who knows? Chavez, then I see little Hoya later. Who knows, man? Who knows? I
Right.
really want to do it. But after I seen Junior cutting his hair, painting his hair pink, painting his hair brown, I said, that boy got issues, man. Let me leave that boy alone. Let me go up to the farm, man.
So really, your commitment right now is, um, overall is to the game of to the sport of boxing, bringing like a different message into it. Um, are you
Yeah.
looking to represent fighters and train?
Right now, I'm working with my cousin, Felix Camacho. Like I said, that kid's the future.
Right.
Talking to my cousin now, but that's what I'm looking forward to is having a promotion company and promoting fighters. So the big thing about boxing, promoters promote their promotions. It's rare you get a promoter that promote their fighters. Oscar De La Hoya has become a great promoter because he understands what it was. He was a fighter. So Oscar promote the fighter as well as his brand, his promotion. Most promoters promote just the promotion and then help the fighters. So, I'm looking forward to going to boxing, helping out, make stars out these fights, giving kids opportunities they didn't have. I mean, it's hard to get on TV now. It's hard to get fights and get that exposure. There's so many fighters out there.
Right.
Boxing can monopolize boxing. No more. And 3-man promoters and they have most TV dates. If you're not signed with those promoters, you're not seeing no TV. You're not seeing no light. So, I'm here to, even the game out a little bit, help it out.
Good, man. That's great. And I think that it's rare that there's a guy like you that's willing to kind of talk openly about what what we've been discussing, and I think that's a fresh look at boxing. And I don't think the way that you're speaking is going to be well received, right? At first, is there other guys that that are like, yo, the game's fucked up. Like we need to do something different. And are you going to be working?
You go ask majority of the fighters who retire right now, they'll all tell you, man, the game is fucked up. We left blood, sweat, and tear in that ring. You think boxing cares about us? Look, my father made Don King so much money in Don King's life. You think me, if I was to call Don King right now, Don, how you doing? Don, listen, man, I need $30,000. My father made you $10 million. Don, give me $30,000. Game is so fucked up. It's
right.
They'll use you. You can't use you no more. When you don't good no more, get out next. That's the game. Dirty game, brutal game. You gotta be smart. You gotta market yourself. You gotta think about what's after boxing. Boxing career is fast. Your career ends fast. What's next? You have to think about what's next. So marketing is important, man. That's what my partner put butts in the seats. He needs love.
Yeah, so the marketing part of it and the new message that you're trying to drive home, I think is going to make a difference, man. I think that they focus that.
I
Well,
would
you
love to
know,
open an academy where people, regular people, let's say this, for example, this is guys in their 40s right now. They love boxing, but they can't compete and fight. They want to be judges. Go to an academy, take courses, and become a judge. Let the commission give you a job. At least you in boxing. Somebody judge, you gotta ask them how the hell they got there. You hear the scorecard, you gotta ask them how the hell judges get a job. How the gotta change, man. Boxing gotta change.
yeah, because because I think that's kind of a message in like in UFC. Like Dana White is kind of big on that, and you heard him speak about some of that, and like you said, there's an image of the fight game, and then there's the boxer outside of the ring. So there has to be a middle ground in which that guy can be successful in his life, because um there's just so many tragic stories. There's just so many tragic stories, man.
It boils down to boxing is a poor man's sport. Most of the bottom. We don't have no education. We come from here from the streets.
Hmm.
We're looking to make a living. That's what feeds us, feeds the family. We don't know any better. We got no schooling. We don't know how to read contracts. So we sell our life away. Fuck, we know. We want that money.
Right.
And we go through that. That's what we go through in boxing.
That's great, man. Yeah, and I think I 1000% support what you're doing. I think I love boxing growing up, you know, and I still enjoy it, and I would love to see it, make this turnaround where, like you said, like the scorecards and the amount of corruption that is involved in all that. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know, how you guys tackle it, but I'm sure you know better than I, because you're in the game. But it's going to be people like you that bring it back, because Friday night fights, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like that big time stuff. Everybody. I mean, that
Loved
was
it.
growing up, man. That's what it was. It was like,
USA Tuesday night fights, USA Tuesday night boxing. We had the CBS, we had NBC fights. We had boxing.
mhm,
Boxing was alive during those days.
yeah,
Nowadays it's hard to get on. It's really hard to get on. If you're not with the Our Heyman, the PBC, now with Golden Boys, with the Arams, it's hard to see light. It's hard to eat.
mhm,
There's just been that shit on COVID. It's COVID. But that's the truth. That's just what boxing is. I think fighters and promoters gotta find other ways to open other avenues. Streaming, have fights on Facebook Live, things that. Remember they have fights on Facebook Live? That's another avenue. What happened to those type of days? So promoting to definitely be creative, keep fighters going, man.
yeah.
There's so many fighters out there who turn pro. They get 1-2 fights. They don't fight for a whole year. I mean, their careers go to waste. A lot of talent goes to waste.
A lot of talent goes to waste, and I think that's important that we discuss that, because and it goes back to the importance of the fighter, like the great fighters kicking back to the game. You know what I mean? Because if they get endorsed by some of these great fighters, you know, then it's easier to drive business, marketing, sponsorship dollars, ultimately media contracts, those types of things. It's easier to drive that back into the business, and it has to be funneled back like that. You know what I mean? Like a guy like Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather should be like, you know, working with young men and kicking them back in. And same thing with Pacquiao, guys like that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and in all weight classes. But I just I think
I had that Floyd Mayweather money. My city or my state of Michigan, that fucking gonna be clean. All of Michigan be clean if I had that Floyd Mayweather money. He got to get back to boxing. Fuck the bullshit. Get back to boxing. You still see with the Bro Durans, with the La Hoya, the Sugar Ray. You still see them out there to fight. They get back at the end there, but we need more of that. We need more of that. Definitely more than that. If I had the Floyd Mayweather money, I'll make sure every fighter is short. I have life insurance for every fighter in the boxing game.
Mm.
If I had the Floyd Mayweather money, I open up academies, boxing academies, to teach the fighters how to market themselves, to teach promoters what to do, how to be a promoter, and how to market themselves. If I had the Floyd Mayweather money.
Absolutely. Well, but that's the thing though. Like the game has to, the more that the game would give out and give back to communities and things like that, the more it would gain, the more it would get,
You know something else?
the
In
more the
boxing,
sport would get.
it's a beautiful sport. It's entertainment. Something else I get bothered with. If you look at boxing today, about 90% of fighters wear the Macho Camacho type boxing trunks. I haven't heard one fighter say, I want to give a special thanks to Hector Camacho who inspired me to wear my outfits. But it's rare you hear fighters say that.
Mm.
And fighters, fights after fight on TV, look at them, watch their boxing outfits. They all mimic Hector Camacho.
Yeah.
But they don't say special thanks to a guy who inspired me, Hector Camacho. They don't say that. And sometimes I think to myself, maybe these fighters don't know, they forget. Time went by, the Macho went by, so. But we have to give credit's due and also give back to the game. Man. That's a must in boxing. That's a must or not. It's a dying sport. We already see they're doing MMA. We already see they're doing exhibition fights, the Tyson and Roy Jones. Boxing's open right now. It's either we keep it as a sport or we keep it as a business. We gotta pick either or.
Yeah, and I think that like I found in my life that like when I give back, or when I think about number 2 through infinity, you know what I mean? When I'm thinking about and trying to be of service to other people, I get way much more, I get way more in my life, and I think that's important of like all businesses, especially today. A lot of business today is focused on social responsibility. A lot of these bigger companies are giving back, and when those companies give back, their brand looks better, and and that's really what, I know we're talking a little bit about, about boxing, but I know, and like, and how we could, and how you can change it. But that's really why I wanted to talk to you, because everything that I've seen you've done in the past few years is like how you just talk about how the sport's all messed up, and like how you want to give back, and how you want to give back to the boxers, and how it's important that these guys set up lives, just like they have in any other sport, the NBA, the NFL, baseball, all of it,
Why not boxing?
why not
Why not?
boxing? Absolutely.
I would love to see the future fighters, be better off. Like the game is so messed up. Like I said, 90% of fighters retire broke. If we could cut that 90% to 50%, I'm a happy man. Boxing, beautiful sport. But it's all about giving back. Cause that's the law of God. God told us, give back to me. Give back. That's what we should also live by. Some people call it good karma, bad karma. I call it the work of God. We're supposed to give back. And more now than ever, we're supposed to love our neighbors. We need bad times. It's COVID time, man. We call it the bad times. We're going to need our neighbors. I might have the coffee here. I don't have the milk or the sugar. The next door neighbor got the sugar. The next door neighbor got the milk. We got to unite.
Yeah. And it all comes back around, man. Because one day you'll have the milk and sugar, and that guy will have the coffee. You know what I mean? It's all got to come back around.
I'm sure you walk in and you see young guy drinking in the bars, and you tell them, God damn, they wishing their life. They wishing their time. You want to help out. You want to give back because you've been through that. You know how it is.
Right.
I
Exactly.
can't look and see another fighter going through the boxing stages and getting jerked in the business. That's just disgusting. It don't sit well with me.
And that's why being an example is so powerful. So you getting out in front of it, like teaming up with the right people that can put your message out there, that's powerful, man. And
modern day slavery. The promoters sit their fat ass down the front seat while the fighters fight and get banged up. And then the promoter tells you how much you're worth. Modern day slavery. That's a lot of fighters now, young fighters. Starting boxing, their own promotion. They're thinking ahead. You see that now more than ever. A fighter having their own promotions.
When you say that, So when a fighter has no promotions, what he just gets in the, they just kind of push him around, tell him he's got to fight, and that's it, and then they don't cut him out. Is that what you're saying? He's got to learn how to market himself.
The main thing is putting butts in the seats. If I put butts in the seats, why are you a promoter for? I put the butts in the seats. The promoter, you don't see the fans going to the fight to see the promoter. They go see the fighters.
Mm-hmm.
If you're bringing butts to the seats, it's all about marketing yourself, man. Merchandising, having your merch, building your brand.
Right.
Boxing, these fights got to think ahead, man. These fights got to think ahead. That's all I ask for the future. Think ahead. Prepare yourself.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, man. It's been awesome talking with you. It really has.
Especially Win Leggy, Eruption Boxing Management. I got a female manager in my team. You know how a wife is. The wife want to be a trainer, want to be a manager, want to be a bodyguard, want to be a. Gwen is a go-getter. I think it's the right time to bring a female to the boxing world and let her loose. Let her go out and get things. That's what female people do, So it's a blessing. Especially thanks to Mongoose Water, my sponsors. Special thanks to Mark Schwartz, Men's Shoes. It's still Macho time, man. Be able to tune out for the Chavez Camacho too. All my revenge.
All right, I can't wait. Now, where can they find you online? You have a presence online?
I'm not much of a social media type of person. I have my own page coming out soon. MachoTimeJr.com. I'm working on that, but you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You working, man. You can find me everywhere soon. We be in Walmart soon, be in Target. I got a lot of things coming out. I'm working, man. Working outside the ring, so I'm definitely pushing myself in different avenues. Open things up.
Much love, my man, and thank you again. And I'll be in touch.